As a Formula One star, you must master the many challenges of the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, Spain. And as an aspiring Formula One star in the GP2 championship presented by Maguire's, you must do the same if you are to have a Formula One future. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Varsha. David Hobbs and Steve Matchett alongside for the Saturday long-form race. A week ago, 21-year-old Brit Lewis Hamilton swept both races of the GP2 stop at the Nürburgring in Germany, only the second time in series history that a driver pulled off the sweep during a race weekend. Since then, the rumors have circulated in the Formula One paddock that the longtime member of the McLaren young driver stable may be driving in Formula One in the near future. So we sent Peter Windsor to catch up with Hamilton and find out what he's all about.
No doubt about the man of the moment in GP2. He started quickly in Valencia, and now he's just won 2 races over the same weekend in Germany. Lewis Hamilton. Lewis, first of all, mate, congratulations. Fantastic performance.
Yeah, thanks a lot. No, it's a great weekend for us. As I said, a good start for the team. Just hope we can continue with the performance.
Well, what's it been like since Nürburgring? I would guess that your life's changed since winning those 2 races.
Not really. I mean, I've tried to keep it just the same, to be honest, because we're only in the 3rd race, or coming to the 4th race now. There's a long way to go, but for sure there's a lot more media around me, but I just try and ignore it a little bit and focus on my job, to be honest.
I've got to ask you, what did Ron Dennis say afterwards?
Yeah, he was happy with the performance. He said that you know, I took my time. He said nice, calm, relaxed, and he said, you know, just try and keep it up.
You've had a great association with McLaren for quite a while now. Can you just introduce our American viewers to that relationship? How did it actually start? When did you first speak to Ron Dennis? How old were you?
I was 10 years old when I first met Ron. I won the British Championship in cadet class, and then I went to the Autosport Awards, and I went around with a little autograph book and went up to Ron and said, you know, I want to drive your car one day or something like that. And he wrote in the booklet, phone me in 9 years and I'll sort you out the deal. And so he left his number, but 3 years later, because I saw him 3 years in a row, 3 years later he gave me a call and offered us support. And ever since then they've been very strong. So.
And that initial support was in kart racing, go-karts?
It was, yes, because it's such an expensive sport and a lot of people don't really have the money. To be honest, we didn't really have the money for it, but it was great to have their support at that time.
And what's the relationship with McLaren like now? Have you driven the F1 car?
I've driven the F1 car only in the straight line tests. I did 3 straight line tests last year, but I've not had the chance to do an actual full test. But hopefully sometime this year I will.
Well, the remaining GP2 races ahead of you. It's looking good for ART, great team.
Absolutely, we've been working hard over pre-season testing, a great bunch of lads, and it was really good, as I said, for the last weekend to get a win under our belt, because the team have been working well hard for it and they deserve it. So hopefully they'll continue with the hard work, and so will I, and we get some more wins.
Congratulations again, best of luck this weekend.
Thanks a lot.
These are good days for Lewis Hamilton, but it has been a bit of a star-crossed weekend thus far in Barcelona. He was the fast man in qualifying, was Hamilton, but there you see the man who will start from pole, Nelson Piquet Jr., the points leader. You see Hamilton and 5 other drivers were penalized for not acknowledging a yellow flag in qualifying. We'll have more on that when we bring you the starting grid on the other side of this break. GP2 presented by Maguire's. Welcome back to Barcelona and the Circuit de Catalunya for the feature event of the GP2 weekend presented by Maguire's here on Speed. The engines are running, the grid has been cleared, the cars will be rolling off momentarily. As they head on their way, let's take a look at the starting grid for today's race. On the front row, the points leader, Nelson Piquet Jr. for the Piquet Sports team, alongside Frenchman Alex Premat for the front-running and championship-leading ART Grand Prix team.
3rd on the grid is Adam Carroll for Racing Engineering. Last time he started 3rd, Monte Carlo last year, he won. Alongside him, Lewis Hamilton in the 2nd ART car. He was fastest in qualifying, but his 2 best laps were disallowed as they were set when a local yellow was out.
One of 6 drivers to lose his quickest 2 laps. On row 3, Michael Ammermuller of Germany for Arden International, and Frank Pereira, who was on the front row at the Nürburgring a week ago for DAMS.
Lining up 7th, Jose Maria Lopez in the Supernova, who won the sprint race here last year. Alongside him, Jimmy Bruni, Trident Racing, who lost 4 places due to the aforementioned yellow flag incident.
On row 5, Olivier Pla of France and his Dave Price Racing teammate Clivio Piccioni of Monaco. The first time since this race a year ago that the 2 Dave Price cars have qualified at the top 10.
13th, Tristan Gomendi in the iSport International car. His lap times in qualifying were so even that he ended up moving up 1 spot when the flag came out. And Next to him, Andreas Zuber in the second Dryden car.
On row 7, Nicolas Lapierre of France for Arden International, third in the championship coming in. Next to him, Adrian Valles of Spain, one of 4 Spanish drivers racing in front of the home fans this weekend.
Row 8, and Timo Glock out-qualifies his BCN teammate for the first time this year. Alongside him in the Grau, the teammate of fellow Brazilian pole sitter Piquet.
Yeah, we'll wait a couple of minutes, we'll go out.
Moving to
Yeah,
row
we'll wait
9,
a couple of
Hiroki
minutes, we'll go
Yoshimoto
out.
of Japan, out-qualified by his BCN racing teammate Timo Glock. Next to him, another Spaniard for the Durango team, Sergio Hernandez.
Lucas Di Grassi Durango sits in 19th, down from 14th with the yellow flag incident. Alongside him, the second Dams car of Freddie Monfordini.
On row 11, Ernesto Visa, 4th in the championship coming in, and one of the best qualifiers in the series, but he had a big off in qualifying. The Venezuelan for the iSport International team is well back, alongside Spaniard Felix Portiero.
Row 12 is Turk Jason Tahigchi, FMS, alongside Fares Fawzi from Malaysia in the second Supernova.
And on the 13th and final row, Giorgio Pantano, who has raced here often in the various series leading to Formula One. He replaces Luca Filippi in the FMS International car, owned by Formula One star Giancarlo Fisichella. Next to him, the 4th and final Spaniard in the field, Javier Villa for Racing Engineering. As the cars come around to take up their positions on the grid, we'll take a quick break and return. Cloudy overhead, which means a cool racetrack and top speed from the GP2 cars. Welcome back on a hazy day in Barcelona, extreme northeastern Spain, the Catalunya province.
Ooh, rain clouds over those hills in the background. I'm not sure whether that's coming or going.
Looks a little dicey.
It does.
You notice the difference from Formula One cars immediately. Though these GP2 cars are dimensionally the same, they run with slick Bridgestone spec tires at all 4 corners. A very hard compound brought for this very abrasive track. But last year, some drivers pitted as early as lap 2 and still set their fast lap of the race toward the end. So the tires will stand up well. We are now moments away from the start. Points leader Nelson Piquet Jr. on pole to lead them away. Oh, very
Terrible
bad
start from Lewis Hamilton there on the second row. Yet again, he made a terrible start in the first race.
But a good one for Piquet from pole as you see the drivers shuffling around.
Great start from Olivier Pla down into turn 1, the tight right-hander.
And it is tight, that corner,
Yes,
and they
it is.
arrived there at very high speed because it's a long way from the start.
We got a collision back in the pack. Let's wait while they sort themselves out. Didn't look like anybody got turned around. Good for them. Well, I think there may be damage. You see someone moving very slowly.
On board Yoshimoto with the BCN competition car.
He qualified in 17th spot. He was on the pole a couple of weeks last week in Nürburgring.
A lot of squirming around there on cold tires. Piquet, Primat, and Adam Carroll, the top 3. Oh, look out, boys.
Sheepish.
This is the kind of thing we see week in and week out in GP2.
Olivier Pla up to 4th. He started 9th on the grid, so a great start from Pla the day prior to racing. Hamilton, he started 4th. And you guys said bad start. He's down to what, 8th?
Yeah, not good at all. There's Primat, his
Look at him
teammate,
sliding.
for a bit twitch from the front end there.
Across the top of the hill, highest point of the racetrack, and then this long double apex right-hander. Top speed onto the front straightaway. That's Primat. He's looking a little squirrely.
He is. Back end of the car.
I think he
moving
must
around.
have some. I think he must have feathered it off pretty well to get speed down this long straight, which is affecting his handling through that quick corner because he was definitely on the twitch there. A lot of paper lying around on the track.
Yeah.
There's Lewis Hamilton blocked up there in the white car, the guy with the yellow helmet. So he started 4th, right back down now in the pack, and it's going to be very difficult for him to make ground.
Piquet
Livio
immediately
Piccioni
opening
in
up a
front of
gap.
him.
Oh, we got smoke, or I guess that's tire smoke.
Adam Carroll's car. That. Whoa!
Oh, what happened to Yoshimoto? Look at his right front tire.
Well, he's been off, hasn't he? Somewhere?
Yeah, that's dirt on the outer shoulder.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Look at it clean up.
Yeah, he's been off in the gravel somewhere.
Let's have another look at the start. Hamilton just doing nothing
Yeah.
there. Very slow start.
Asleep at the light.
Yeah, big time. And of course, it's such a penalty to pay here. Somebody looks like he actually made a bit of a jump start there.
Starts have been so problematic this year. We've had a lot of clutch problems, a lot of stalled cars at the starts. Interesting that everybody got away this time, and as you see, someone screen left got out on the dirt.
Olivier Pla to the left of the screen there, making up all those spots.
This will give us a good view of it. Look at him split Hamilton in the right-hand column.
Oh,
and
somebody
that's
well
what
on the
sent him
graph.
off. Yeah. Oh, man.
But Olivier Pla came from the far left of the grid, going down the right-hand side into turn 1.
This is a replay of what happened to Yashimoto. Somebody coming back on right in front of him.
Oh.
That was Andy Negrao, and that cost the Japanese driver track position as well as his right front tire.
Big time, yeah. They take him a lap, well, half a lap to get that cleared up.
Already
we've
cars
got
into the
pit
pits.
stops.
Lewis Hamilton. And this is Vias were on board.
That's Hamilton. Is it? Oh, that was one of the Fisichella cars. More cars up ahead.
Well, I guess they're just changing the rears. We can't see from that shot.
Lapierre pits for Arden. Jason Tahinchi from Turkey in the FCN car.
This is Villa we're on board with, a Spanish driver. He had a very good weekend, the first weekend, here in Spain too at Valencia, but qualified dead last yesterday.
There's Hamilton coming out. No, that's not Hamilton, but Hamilton did pit. That's Tahinchi coming
That's
back.
Tahinchi there.
Turkish Oil Company sponsorship of Giancarlo Fisikella's GP2 team.
Well, only 2 laps into the race and coming in to change tyres has got me completely baffled.
Piquet picks up fast lap early on since he started from the grid. That puts him into eligibility for the point for fast lap. He's already picked up the 2 points for pole that might have gone to Lewis Hamilton, but for that penalty in which 6 drivers lost their 2 quickest laps for ignoring a yellow flag during the qualifying session.
Nelson Piquet starting to pull away from Alexander Primat. There's Adam Carroll in 3rd.
There's Lewis Hamilton with a bright yellow helmet. Sawing away at that wheel.
Estovizo,
now pits,
he's in the pits as well. And as you were saying, Bob, it is a requirement that you have to pit during this race. It's built into the sporting regulations, and I guess that's the reason they're thinking so these tires will be good to go, and they're not expecting tire wear. But this track, the Barcelona track, is notoriously abrasive on tires, and in previous rounds we've seen during this long race on the Saturday that these front tires do go off. And I was thinking coming into this race, thinking these guys are going to want to change tires later on. They're certainly going to be want to changing front tires. Well, let's see how that unfolds, because at the moment they're following exactly the same procedure that they've done in previous rounds.
Well, we know that the spec Bridgestone tires selected by the Bridgestone engineers, not the team. Once again, that's the rule in GP2. We know that they last. The question is how much time you pick up when they're fresh. There's a running order. Hamilton rejoined back in 23rd, but he'll move up because we had a couple more pit stops. On board with Yashimoto, still wrestling with that car.
Yeah, locked up under braking there, didn't it? Probably even on downshift, locked the back end a little bit. Well, these hard compound tyres are showing themselves now. You compare this to the Formula One, how Formula One cars work, where they're so stable, but around here, when you're trimming the wing off, David, and you were saying this, to get some straight line speed down the front straight, you take the downforce off the car and you really get caught out on these final corners.
Yashimoto pits. Clivio Piccioni also pits. There's Piccioni coming to the pit alley.
Wow.
Jose Maria Lopez coming out. Lopez gets the spot from Piccioni. They pitted together. Lopez followed him in. He'll lead him out. Giorgio Pantano, he raced this racetrack in the old Formula 3000 series, coming forward.
Starting from the back, so he's making some ground up.
In fact, he won twice in Formula 3000 here in 2002 and 2003, driving for 2 different teams, Coloni in 02 and Durango in 03.
Had a brief look at Yashimoto there after his pit stop. Nelson Piquet has yet to stop, but he's got the luxury of clear track in front of him, no traffic at all, so he keeps on setting those fast laps, which is what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Oh, Hamilton set the fast lap, I'm sorry.
Yep. And that fast lap and the point that goes with it will be bounced back and forth all day long.
Well, here is your running order, look. Piquet Jr, Primat, Carroll, Pla, and Bruni, Amamula, Zuber and Gomdi all have yet to make a stop.
Amamula must have made a bad start. Bruni getting by him, who started behind him on the grid. There you see Pantano up to 14th from 25th, so he's having a good run up to the field.
A lot of cars have pitted in front of him, though.
Here come the guys that have stopped.
There you go. Hamilton leading those that have pitted, so that's a step forward for the young Brit.
Lewis Hamilton up to 17th after his pit stop, setting fastest lap, so a lot of people in front of him have got to stop yet.
All the drivers, look at the amount of steering input these guys are having to put in to control the understeer. And again, I'm surprised that these guys are so reluctant to change the front tires. Certainly around this track, if there is one track these guys are going to go to, which is going to induce understeer, destroy the front tires, is Barcelona.
But as we discussed before, you know, the teams they've got working it, they're good teams, but they're not up to Formula One standards of tyre changing, and every wheel you change is another risk that something can go wrong, and I guess they just feel that discretion is the better part of valor, and obviously the tyres are good enough to get them through the whole race. Because if you flat spot the thing too badly, you more or less have to change it.
Yeah, well, we saw that at the previous round as the race progressed, and they do start to go away. Certainly in the last 10 laps. A little replay of
50.
Frank Pereira going around one of the Supernova cars.
Who gave him room there wisely.
Yeah. Now, such is the spread of rumors in motor racing, particularly at the GP2 Formula One level. Lewis Hamilton with a dominating performance a week ago at the Nürburgring, and he being a longtime member of the McLaren young driver fraternity. Lots of folks are pointing toward Formula One as early as next year for Lewis Hamilton. He's suddenly in the frame at McLaren, where they already have world champion Fernando Alonso under contract. The question is, who will be his teammate?
must be a pretty cool prospect for Lewis Hamilton.
Boy, I'll bet. That'll just spin your head, won't it?
Yeah. Alonso must be looking at that McLaren now. McLaren not having a good year again, qualifying like 9th and 12th for today's Grand Prix. Yesterday afternoon, qualifying in Spain, they were 9th and 12th. Alonso, of course, on the pole, must be thinking, uh-oh, have I made the right choice here? McLaren not having a good weekend and not having a good year. Ooh.
Oh, another close moment down into turn one. Talk about leaving room.
Yeah.
Nobody left anybody any room there. That's Piquet getting back around Lopez.
Oh, here he is. Somebody going across the gravel. That's Negrão, is it? No.
Oh, that is Negrão.
Yeah.
You are right on, mon brave.
Sacre bleu.
Every now and then a pig sniffs out a trouble. We'll take a break. It is Piquet, Premack, Carroll, Pla, Bruni, Emmermuller, Zuber, Gomedy, Negrão, and Monfordini, your top 10. But the pit stops are continuing. We'll be back with more of the GP2 presented by Maguire's. Welcome back to round 4 of the GP2 series presented by Maguire's here on Speed with Steve Matchett and David Hobbs. I'm Bob Varsha, your race leader. As you see, Nelson Piquet Jr. The top 8 runners have yet to make their mandatory pit stop in this long-form Saturday race. On Sunday, there's a shorter sprint race, no stop required, and the grid will be set by the top 8 in the Saturday race you're watching being inverted. Everyone else starts according to where they finished today.
Of all the people that stopped, Hamilton in 16th there is the highest.
Yeah.
And I think if they were to stop now, he would jump up to about 6th, probably. He's too far behind Piquet to pull up to him, but he'll be right up there in that top 5 or 6.
Good look there at Pla and Bruni. Jimmy Bruni won this Saturday race a year ago, driving for the Coloni team. Scott Speed finished 2nd. I believe that was Scott's highest finish of the year in GP2, en route to 3rd in the championship and a Formula One drive with Scuderia Toro Rosso. Yoshimoto continues to wrestle with this car. Boy, he has been sideways more than he's been straight thus far. This is Emmermuller, young sensation from Germany.
Front tire change.
Well, there you go. See, stop your whining now. They change the front.
All those long distance calls were worth it.
Yeah, Emmermuller had a great run in Valencia in the sprint race, and last weekend was a bit disappointing. He ran to the back of Premack in on a caution lap at Imola just about a month ago, and last week didn't have such a run, and he's slipping back today.
Pantano passing Lucas de Grassi for 12th. Those two both have to pit yet.
Well, Pantano's having a heck of a run through the field.
Cars are all powered by 4-liter Renault-based V8s, prepared by the Mechachrome company.
Well, I tell you what, I don't like the look of that sky at all.
It is dark. I keep thinking I'm seeing liquid on the camera lens, but no sign of that yet. And of course, these are slick tires.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, that sky.
The weather does change, as we know, very quickly around Barcelona. The track is right on the coast.
They got the coast on one side and mountains are sort of all on the other 3 sides. So the weather here is subject to change. Look at that gravel offline there too. So these guys now got to pick their way through the gravel.
I wonder if eyes toward the skies is the reason some of these teams might be waiting on their pit stops.
That's very smart thinking if that's the case. That really is Formula One level of thinking if that's what they're doing, trying to see whether it's going to rain. But we have had rain here on all last week prior to this race, in the build-up to the Formula One weekend, the GP2 weekend. It was raining.
There's Jimmy Bruni pitting.
Yeah, very slow getting that one. They've clearly had problems with that right rear, and the camera picking it up late in the stop.
He was 7th on the way in. He qualified 8th, so he's made up a little bit of ground. But meanwhile, the leader, Nelson Piquet Jr., really rocketing off. 3.5-second lead, nearly 4-second lead over Prima.
That's the end of Degrassi's stop.
He was 14th coming in.
Good look here from the cable cam, climbing the hill alongside the racetrack. Piquet Jr. was lost in the woods last year. Did not do his career much good at all. Even though he once dominated British Formula 3, he came into this season saying, I have got to win this GP2 championship this year if I'm going to have any hope of making it to Formula 1. And he has come out of the box like a rocket, taking... He's got some push there. Meanwhile, Piquet Jr. merrily off into a race of his own. Look at that gap, up around 10 seconds now. And that to Adam Carroll, who is no slouch.
No. And we've noticed in previous rounds of the GP2 series, the guys that are out in front that aren't fighting for position, when they're in clean air, those front tires seem to stand up a lot better. They're not fighting so hard, they're not putting so much steering input into the car, there's less slip angle, and everything works out a lot better when you lead in the race.
Today's point scoring is on the Formula 1 system. 8 places count, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In Sunday's sprint finale, only 6 drivers will earn points. Alex Premat back on track and behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton is 11th, Premat 12th for ART Grand Prix. Up and over the top of the hill. Now into this double apex right-hander called New Holland. 4th gear, about 140 miles an hour or so.
And you need to get a good slingshot out of that last corner, New Holland, because look at the length of this straight. I mean, the Formula 1 guys are struggling to get the car to work well down here with the aerodynamics. Well, these guys are going to be caught on the back foot, really, with the aerodynamics and the power of the engines. And the only thing you can do, really, you have to take wing off the car. It's really the only solution. But by so doing, you compromise the car's balance, its handling, so much around the rest of the track. Fizzy Keller with his team, his GP2 team looking on.
Javier Villa, of course, a Spanish boy. He's only 18 years old. Had that good run also in Spain at Valencia at the beginning of the season. Obviously today qualified in 26th spot up to 22nd.
There's Lewis.
It's interesting, the fast cars are sprinkled through the field. Piquet Jr. lapping regularly in the 26s. The next driver lapping at that speed is Hamilton, who's back in 10th now. Ammermuller back in 13th is doing 26s. And then deep in the field, Villa turned in a 26 last time around.
Lewis Hamilton's last lap was a 25.7, so he's really putting the hammer.
Hamilton just blew him away at the Nürburgring last week. He was even penalized at one point, a drive-through penalty, and still came back and won the race.
No. Yeah, that was unbelievable, wasn't it? Great drive.
But that's the second time he's made a very dodgy start this year. He just got to get his start right. And if he can get the starts right, I mean, boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
He's going to be tough. Okay, Piquet's in the pits.
Race leader is in, as David mentioned. The other thing about Hamilton was he had a big mistake at Imola, too, so he could have had a win there as well. This is Gomendy. Adam Carroll and Olivier Pla also in.
Currently in 5th. Takes the tear off. One of the tear-offs off his visor and throws it out. So his front tyre's looking.
This is the iSport International car. This is the team for whom American Scott Speed drove last year. You saw Piquet leaving the pits.
Still in the lead.
Pantano taking new rubber. Got a bit of spooge there on the left front. Ernesto Vizo been fast all weekend, but he's been off the track as much as on it, and that hasn't helped him. With the abrasiveness of the racing surface and the need for the right aerodynamic setup, as you see one of the Supernova cars getting squirrely. It's a very tough place, I would guess, Steve, to get car balance.
It is, absolutely. It's all about compromise, as much in GP2 as it in Formula 1, but you really want to run more wings around this infield section because there are a lot of corners, medium speed corners where you want that aerodynamic assistance, but boy, it doesn't half compromise the straight line speed of the car going down the straight.
Andre Zuber picks up the lead. Notice Piquet and Hamilton running in 5th and 6th. They are the leaders among those that have stopped, so if they stay close, those ahead of them stop, and it would be Piquet and Hamilton nose to tail for the race win.
Duking it out. Yeah, that's going to be very exciting when all these pit stops have worked their way through and when we'll find out how everybody shakes out.
Meanwhile, young Zuber gets his moment in the sun. There's your top 4. We'll take a break and be back with more of the GP2 series presented by Meguiar's.
May 31st on Speed.
He agreed to my conditions, man, not yours.
This
No rain in Spain yet as we welcome you back to the GP2 main event from Barcelona presented by Meguiar's here on Speed with David Hobbs and Steve Matchett. Along with Peter Windsor, I'm Bob Varsha. We ride with Hori Yoshimoto from Japan, who has been all over the racetrack.
And must have paid Spanish TV an awful lot of money. Here we see the real battle. Nelson Piquet now.
Piquet has got a penalty. Pit lane speed, perhaps.
I bet that's exactly
Well,
what
of course, that's what happened to Lewis Hamilton last week.
Yeah.
There goes our battle for the lead, because that is the eventual 1-2 right on your screen when they cycle through on pit stops. Zuber remains the race leader, followed by Manfredini, Negrão, and then this battle. And Piquet Jr. might have just stuck a fork in it.
I think he has.
But the 3 guys in front are going to stop, so this is going to be the battle for the lead. As you say, poor old Nelson Piquet Jr. going to have a drive-through. Mind you, that happened to Hamilton last week at the Nürburgring, so he could redeem himself yet. The times are very close.
Vizo.
What did I say about Vizo earlier?
Yeah. You want to get that slingshot out of New Holland for the straight, but you don't want to do it like that.
No. Those tyres won't be too good when it gets down to the head at the other end either.
Shot all the way to Bilbao.
It didn't seem to. Well, I don't know, I'm not driving the car. There didn't seem to be an awful lot of attempt to try and correct it, did there? But
now what's happened here? That's Farouz Fauzi's car. He's went on straight on at the end. And look at the skid marks. I don't see anybody getting into him, but
looks like got too much on the back there.
yeah.
oh,
There it
was.
is.
Yeah, there was
Assist.
somebody else involved.
Yeah.
He got an assist.
Felix Portero in one of the cars owned by former Spanish Formula 1 driver Adrian Campos.
You're not getting out of that gravel.
Zuber pits from the race lead. Piquet is serving his penalty as we speak. Manfredini takes over the race lead.
Yeah. Tip of the day for that mechanic is don't stand directly behind the tyre when these guys take off, because they will kick gravel into you.
And there's the race for Farouz Fauzi of Malaysia, which helps explain the sponsorship, of course.
So,
Nice to see an American oil company get behind a young driver. And I can think of a young driver. Nevertheless,
I can't think of any.
here's Lewis Hamilton, and now what's this? Sergio Hernandez has stuck it in the kitty litter. One of the Spaniards in the field.
Ah, dear.
Oh, right. Well, yeah. Whoa,
Right front tire.
Well, I guess.
That'll make the highlight reels.
Yeah, it's down, dude. We can see it. Now, can we see a replay to see why it went down? I guess it went down. I'm sure the driver's indicated that's the reason it went off. It wasn't my fault. Oh, and the left rear suspension damage.
It's one of the Trident cars.
Now, let's have a look. What are we looking at? Is this our replay?
Jimmy Bruin up. Someone's already off. Zuber. Is that Zuber going off?
Zuber, who was our race leader.
For a time.
Is that Zuber? Yes.
Yep. He's broken his left rear. Now, we don't know the reason this tire went down, but as you mentioned, Steve, the teams just refused to change those fronts. Yeah. Carroll back in for some reason. Maybe he had a problem.
Again, we saw it at the Nürburgring, which is not particularly hard on understeer on these tires, but this circuit, you know, I've got to say, it's probably the worst on the calendar.
Portero pitting. That was his Portero's second stop. He's at the back of the field as Carroll exits. Well, you know, I don't know if it's all speed as Hamilton dirt tracks it through the corner. I'm wondering, you see that long white line on the pit out. I wonder if some of these aggressive exits are taking the guys' left side wheels over that white line, and they might be getting nicked for that.
Could be, Bob. It could be, yeah. Because the regulation is exactly the same as the Formula One sporting regulation. You cannot even put a tire on that white line.
There's your running order. Manfredini and Negrão yet to stop. Then Hamilton, the first of the stoppers. Primat, Ammermuller, Piccioni, Pla, Lopez.
Oh, look at that. Piquet Jr. dropped back to 9th with that drive-through penalty.
Coming into the pits, the white line coming into the pits, you can take the very last second to decide to come into the pits. That white line is really for guidance, but on the way out, you must not cross that line.
Negrão pits from second. That leaves only Manfredini to make his stop.
Negrão, of course, has come up from 16th with everybody else stopped. We'll see where he rejoins.
Back on board with Gomedy. That definitely looks like fluid on that lens. Might be oil. There's Piquet Jr. stuck behind Lopez. That's for 8th. Rooney right there behind Piquet Jr. Then this man, Gomedy. Remember, the 8th place finisher today becomes the pole sitter for tomorrow's sprint finale. And that is not what Nelson Piquet Jr. is thinking about right now.
Manfredini still to pit. He has not been into pits to change tyres. You must at some point during this race. He is leading the race as a result of that. His last lap at 27.465.
Piquet Jr. will pick up a spot when Manfredini pits. And if he can get around Lopez, he'll be in another spot, so he'll get up into 6th. Then the gap up to Ammermuller in 5th is almost 4 seconds, so got some work to do. Nice yellow flag with doing good right now.
Look at the length of that straight there. That was a good indication of how long it is that they've got to suffer with that downforce on the car.
And this long downhill run. Fauzi locked up and went off with an assist. We'll take a break and return with more of the GP2 feature from Barcelona, presented by Maguire's. Welcome back to the GP2 series presented by Maguire's. Round 4 of the season from Barcelona. Bob Varsha, Steve Matchett, David Haas, Peter Windsor with you. While we were away, Hiroki Hashimoto finally gave up the ghost. Parked just beyond the pit exit, so he is done. The race leader remains Manfredini, Fernando Manfredini. Oh, Giorgio Pantano checking a new racing line. Okay, that one doesn't work. Try something different next time. Manfredini, still the only car yet to pit as we go on board with Tristan Gomedy of France, running in 10th. Nelson Piquet Jr. has gotten around Lopez for 7th. have no pictures of that to show you, unfortunately.
So the two ART team cars up there in first, or second and third, but about to be first when Monfordini makes his stop. Hammer Mueller's dragged himself back to fourth, which is pretty good for him. Piquet Jr and Pla together again, still like they qualified. They see Bruni, Gomendi, we keep on going on board with him. Negrao down to 11th now. Lapierre not doing as well this year as you hope. Look at that Pantana. Whoa!
Bruni, be careful! Oh, no! You can see it a mile off.
Yeah.
Well, that was, you know, everybody's going to say it's a racing incident, but
it was stupid.
He was pushed down and down and down, you know.
Yeah. We were just talking about leaving room.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bruni is going to want to have a chat with Jose Maria Lopez, I'm sure.
You got to race, of course, but you've got to race sensibly.
And if I force a guy up onto the curb, how's he ever going to stop?
Yeah, I mean, that was bad by Lopez, I'm afraid.
Meanwhile, Nelson Piquet Jr. is 7th. That all took place behind him. So it doesn't help him as we ride with Portero.
Yeah, here's a look at that. Oh, yeah.
Helps Gomendi a bunch.
Yeah, he's saying thanks a lot for that. I'll have that.
That is not good driving by Lopez, and he pays the price. If he'd gotten away, it would have been criminal. Bang.
Game over.
You have to leave your opponent room to correct the problem.
As it's the only overtaking spot on the track, you could have said, well, you've got to give up and have another go later on, because it's going to happen again and again and again, isn't it?
You don't have to let him by, but you do have to let him drive.
You've got to be intelligent, haven't you? You've got to be intelligent.
Local yellow. Lewis Hamilton, by the way, still has the fastest race lap and the championship point that goes with it. The order is Monfordini, who still has yet to pit. Hamilton, Premat, Ammermuller, Pichon, Pla, Piquet Jr., then Gomendi, Negrao, and Lapierre, the top 10.
Because Monfordini may yet come out of this smelling like a rose, because if it should rain, which we'll be talking about, and everybody has to come in his stop, he will be looking pretty good.
He'll be in the pound seats, right?
The Chaise au pound.
Lapierre looking back at Pantano. Viso looking down the inside. Then Baez, Glock. Pereira's 15th. Adam Carroll has made 2 pit stops. He's now 16th. Luca de Grassi is 17th. Then Javier Villa. And Jason Tahinchi.
Nicolas Lapierre there, who's currently lying in 10th spot. I mean, he came in here looking pretty racy from last year, and he was one of the guys heavily touted for a championship possibility this year, as Nelson Piquet already said that he's got to win the championship. But Lapierre is 3rd in points, not that far out of it, but far enough that if it goes on like this for the year, you know, he's only picked him up by being around, sort of thing, as opposed to winning or being in the top 2 or 3.
Piquet leads Hamilton by 3 coming in. Lapierre, as David mentioned, is 3rd. 1 point behind Hamilton.
Monfordini yet to pit, as we keep saying, and there it is on the graphic. No stops for Monfordini, but his lap times pretty much equal of everybody else. It's not like his tyres are going off by staying out. I would have thought these tyres would have been starting to go off a lot by now.
We're seeing a lot of marble build up on the front straightaway.
Monfordini's last lap of 27.2. Hamilton 27.9. Premat 27.9. So he's setting good times with those tyres. 14 laps to go. Mind you, thinking of that, of course, Hamilton stopped very early, so there's not an awful lot of difference in life between Hamilton's tyres and Monfordini's.
The sun has come out, so any hopes that Monfordini had that it might rain looks like they've been dispelled.
There's that buildup right along the white line at the edge of the track. Those bits of rubber, they call the marbles.
or clag. The technical term for it is clag.
It's Timo Glock, we're watching that.
Having a look at Baez. That would be for 13th. Deep into the second half of the race now, 14 laps to go. And with that, we'll take a quick break, waiting for Manfredini's stop, at which point Lewis Hamilton will take over the race lead. More to come from the GP2 race at Barcelona, presented by Meguiar's. Welcome back to the GP2 series from Barcelona, presented by Meguiar's. We've got action. This was for 10th place. Giorgio Pantano, Nicolas Lapierre. Bit of a hip check there from the Italian to the Frenchman. Ernesto Viso was right there on top of it all. It's Viso in the 7 car. So Lapierre dropping back, losing a couple of positions. There comes Glock on the attack, getting over into the gray area. There's that white line I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The race leader is Manfredini, who has yet to pit.
Round off they go and into Renault. This is the corner that puts so much load on that left front. It just goes, look at it, on and on and on. But you're right, yeah, Manfredini with 12 laps to go, still yet to pit, and he must pit to the regs.
Now he might have let it too
Adam
late.
Carroll going down the outside, they're coming up to his left-hander, which of course is going to put him on the outside. So
Fernando Manfredini's situation is getting more dire as the laps tick away. The longer he waits, the farther he's going to fall back. He's got a 16.6 second gap over second place Lewis Hamilton. Not enough to hold on to the race lead with this pit stop.
No, he's still setting reasonable lap times. 27.1 out in front, Manfredini. 27.6 Hamilton, 27.1 Prematt. It's about this stage with 10, 11, 12 laps to go where these front tires tend to go off, or typically they have in the last few rounds, but the stability of the cars at the moment look pretty good. Getting back to the Nürburgring and Imola, about now you see the front end start to give up a lot, and then David, as you were saying earlier on, the back end comes around and they try and compensate for that. But at the moment they're looking okay.
We saw it time after time last year, particularly with the ART team, which eventually won the championship, both driver and teams, with Nico Rosberg. Oh, Glock.
Baez doing a real no-no there, making the 2 moves, the dreaded 2 moves. Making one's bad enough, but doing it backwards and forwards, that is definitely a no-no.
If the teams wait too long to make that pit stop, they find themselves in a deep hole. I remember one time last year, ART went to like the second to last lap of the race before pitting Rosberg, and he suffered for it.
Yeah.
Is that right front tire there on Timo Glock's car looking very dodgy to me?
The left one looks barbecued.
Yeah.
Carroll goes by, pick up the spot over Glock.
That's not helping it either.
We're getting a lot of lockup now, just as we did a week ago at the Nürburgring when they don't change those fronts.
Well, we were just saying, you know, these cars seem to be okay, but typically this has been the period, the last 10 to 12 laps of the race, where they start to go off. Yeah, I don't know what Manfredini's plan is right now. He needs to...
Safety car, please.
Yeah. Or snow or something, possibly.
Plan? What do you mean, plan? Just keep going and make you stop.
Adam Carroll going around Baez. Calamity corner.
Yeah, I done it.
I see. Oh, Glock's going to take a run at it. Oh, look out, look out.
Wow, he made a stick.
Now
That was
that's
pretty
racing.
good.
None of that, you know, plowing into the side of
it.
one
You
another.
got it. I mean, when the guy's there, I mean, it's just a fait accompli. It's no good trying to shut the door when it's all too late.
Well done.
You drivers tend to get so excitable.
I know.
Unlike us announcers, of course. Race leader's in.
Manfredini! The plan has come together. Well, I don't know if it's come together, but
But it is a plan.
It's unfolding before our eyes.
Something's happening.
No fronts change again. Yeah. So where's he going to drop back to? Probably about 6th or 7th, I would say.
I don't think he'll go that.
No, maybe not that far. No, 5th anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to come out in front of Piquet Jr. Piquet Jr. Look for a white car. We're not going to see the track, of course. We're going to look at close shot.
Out,
wide out. Yeah, pellets.
Oh, let's go to another part of the racetrack. Fine. Excellent. Well, the problem for Manfredini was there was a clutch of cars very close together. Ammermuller, Piccioni, and Pla, as well as Piquet and Gomedy. So we don't know where he came out in the midst of all that.
So what's the advice from Manfredini's engineers now? Just simply push.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all up to you now. We've done everything we can.
That's right. Yeah, the strategy's worked out. It's all on the driver now. Just push. It should all come together.
There's Lewis Hamilton.
He is now your race leader.
Only 1 second in front of his teammate.
Yeah, speaking of strategies, just the way it was planned. 1-2.
This will help Primat enormously, who is languishing down in 7th spot in the championship with, you know, some very low, couple of retirements and some out of the points finishes. So this will help him enormously, and it will help Michael Ammermuller too, who's now running in 4th spot.
Yeah, Primat will pick up a number of spots with these 8
running in
points.
3rd spot. Whoa!
On board with Gomedy.
Gomedy,
yeah.
Who was that going wide? Was that Pla?
Don't know.
Looking at the man of the hour in international single-seater motorsport, Lewis Hamilton.
You're right, dead on a second. Right.
Yeah.
1.007.
Now we think there's Hamilton still got the fastest lap.
Don't know. Right now,
Ernesto Vizo's got the fastest lap.
Ah. That was Manfredini locking up. He is back in 8th after that pit stop.
So Ammermuller, if the race was to finish right now, will also make up big time in the overall points. Piquet now is down in 6th.
It's the ART team having a look at the tires. Does that mean they need one with 8 laps to go?
I hope not at this stage.
7 to go next time by. They're in the New Holland complex, plunging downhill, launching onto that front straightaway. Boy, if you ever needed that Bridgestone, it's right now. We'll be back with more of the GP2 feature event from Barcelona, presented by Maguire's. Welcome back to the GP2 series presented by Maguire's here on Speed. Great battle going on here. Oh, is he going to pinch him down on the
Degrassi in the 22. Whoa. Oh. Now he's on the inside.
So Degrassi gets by LaPierre for 14th. Onto the front straightaway, 6 laps to go. The race leader is Lewis Hamilton, who is losing ground slightly to his teammate Alex Primat. Less than a second separates them. There is Hamilton.
And that was his teammate that just flashed by. Yeah, it was just over a second, Bob, wasn't it? It was 1.007, and it's now down to 0.8. So Primat closing up on Hamilton, but well, there it is. There's the gap, quite visual.
Down to the 2 of them. Ammermuller more than a second behind.
And I don't think that Hamilton is going to worry about this at all. He just ain't going by, that's all.
Excuse me, 9 seconds back to Ammermuller, which is why you don't see him in the picture.
Ammermuller started off 5th, dropped back severely, and has come back to 3rd. Pretty good. As I say, him and Primat are going to be the big gainers in the championship position now. Piquet, of course, is going to be the big loser.
Piquet Jr. currently 6th, and he had a podium right there for the taking.
How do team orders play out in a series like GP2? And both of these guys are basically buying the rides, and both of them want to win. Different to Formula One, of course, where both the drivers are employed by the team and they're just told to finish in a certain order.
I think the tie break is the bigger check.
Okay. I like that. Good answer, Bob. Yeah.
Or else. The radio is crackling right now. They're saying, okay, status quo. We're tossing a coin here in the pit lane. We'll let you know. I suppose tradition says that Hamilton, being higher in the points, would get the nod if, in fact, they don't let them race.
That's a point I made at the last race, and it's a minor point, but I can't understand why Hamilton hasn't got any rear sponsorship on that rear wing. It just seems extraordinary to me. It's the prime billboard area on the car. That's what I was always told in my days in F1. That was the thing everybody wanted to buy.
While we're watching this, Nicolas Lapierre is falling back through the field. He's pitted again. Remember, we saw him going slowly on the straightaway at one point.
Well, he was being passed right, left, and centre, wasn't he, at the end of the straight? He must either have an engine problem or obviously he's got some sort of problem. Maybe it's stuck in a gear down from top or something, because he kept getting past. Obviously, let him have a look at it now.
Hamilton's car's beginning to move around a little bit, isn't he? He's fighting now. He's fighting to keep the car ahead.
Adam Carroll's just set the fastest lap with a 25.4, but he's down in, where are we, 11th, 12th spot. So
that's actually the first sector. That's the quickest first sector we've seen. Not fast lap of the race yet, although
that gap's closing up a little bit. It wasn't a second. Now it was down to 0.8. Now it's down to 0.6. And Hamilton is working the car. He's beginning to move around a lot underneath him now.
Which is just what Premat wants him to do.
Yeah. Of course, Hamilton stopped very, very early, so these tyres must be coming to the end of their life. It was like lap 2 or something, wasn't it, when Hamilton changed onto those tyres?
Well, after that terrible start and he got bogged down, I suppose he thought might as well stop as soon as possible and get out of this traffic.
As did Premat's stop much later than that. Premat's tyres are in much better condition.
Adrian Valles pits again. He plummets to the back.
Monfordini's had a pretty good run. You know, I mean, he started dead last, pretty much so, or 20th. I mean, it's a long way down here, and pulled himself up to 8th. That's good. Giorgio Pantano, who did start on the back row, up to 10th. Adam Carroll, unfortunately, down there in 12th spot. He's not having a good race.
Yeah, 2 stops.
Qualified 3rd, so not what he wanted at all.
This is Ammermuller, 3rd, being chased by Clivio Piccioni. It's for the final podium spot. Each man has a victory. Piccioni last year, Ammermuller this year.
Both in the sprint races. Closing up a little bit there, but
behind all this, Olivier Flade, Nelson Piquet Jr., Gomedy, Monfordini, all running within a fraction of a second of each other. There's Gomedy. That's Pla ahead on the road. Where's Piquet Jr.? Is that him in the distance? Hard to believe he's that far ahead of these two. I wonder if he's had a problem. This is back to Ammermuller and Piccioni. 2 to go.
Piccioni too will benefit enormously. He's 25th out of the 26 runners at the moment in the points. Has had done nothing, and it'll be great for Dave Price Racing too.
There's Piquet behind in 5th. Hamilton and Premat, that gap has dropped down again just by 1/10 of a second. It's now 0.5 between 1st and 2nd.
Plaza has a problem. He's plummeting back down the order. Piquet Jr. up into 5th and charging. Obviously, he'll run out of time. Only 1 lap to go next time by. Pla, if he holds that spot, will be on pole for the sprint race. He made that his personal trademark last year. Inherited a pole for the sprint race and won on 2 occasions.
One of which was at Silverstone in front of a huge crowd. He had a great run there. Boy, these two guys are very closely matched, aren't they?
Yeah, you can't get closer than that, can you, to be honest, without making the move. I mean, that's down to, well, the screen is showing time, the scoring is showing half a second, but it's less than that, isn't it, really?
Last lap. Traffic ahead. Hamilton, a little tactical drift in the middle of the road there.
Absolutely.
Signal is, you may come, but I may be there when you get there.
Alex Premat, of course, being shown up badly by Lewis Hamilton, his young, inexperienced rookie teammate.
As you mentioned earlier on, Bob, there is a lot of build-up now on the outside of these corners where the rubber's rolling off the tyres. So you don't want to be drifting the car too wide.
No, you certainly not. You want to keep out of that stuff.
Absolutely, you'll be off in a heartbeat.
Oh, wow. Slight bobble there over the curbs.
Premat is just hounding him like. Okay, just that next hairpin. This is an overtaking opportunity coming up.
Yes, he's trying. He's trying.
Oh,
What did he say?
now Hamilton.
That's the difference between GP2 and F1.
Well, they can't believe it in the pits. Premat takes the lead. Hamilton got pointed in the right direction, but did he get back underway? Yes, he is. It appears he will hold on for second. Meanwhile, that's all Piccioni spinning. Ammermuller will hold on to third at the same point of the racetrack. Premat picks up the win. He is delighted. His team may be less so.
I bet they'll be less than delighted. Boy, he better enjoy this victory lap right now.
Piquet Jr. moves up to fourth with the spin by Piccioni. Oh, Piccioni's crew cannot believe their man had spun.
Wow.
I suspect
think
those
they
are
still
Premat's
finished
points.
second.
Oh, Piccioni is done. Oh, no.
Well, yeah, you mentioned a good point. They still finished 1-2, so as far as the team points are concerned,
There's no
loss. No.
But of course, as far as the championship, that is a dramatic about face there for Hamilton on that last lap. Him dropping from first to second, and of course Piquet coming up there.
Boy, oh boy. They're lucky they both got to the end.
They were very lucky there.
Yeah, you don't know whether to cry or cheer, do you, at that point?
Meanwhile, separate incident.
You have to lip read very well to pick that word up.
Fast lap of the race goes to Adrian Valles in 19th
Oh, well,
place.
that's another point away from Lewis Hamilton now. So it all.
So he made that late pit stop, probably put on some more rubber.
Well, I can only assume, Bob, that they didn't toss the coin you were talking about in team orders, or they didn't tell them there are any team orders.
And whenever that comes up, what's the rule? Race your teammate, just don't crash. And that is exactly what happened. The damage was minimized, still a 1-2 instead of a 2-1. We'll take a break and return to see how the teammates react on the podium here in Barcelona. Barcelona, the GP2 championship presented by Maguire's. There you see the cars in Parc Fermé. Alex Premat, after a last lap collision, takes the victory from his ART Grand Prix teammate Lewis Hamilton. Michael Ammermuller finishes third. There is Premat, a very happy winner. And now it's time for the anthems. French driver, French team equals 1 anthem.
And as Steve Matchett said to me a moment ago, if I was Lewis Hamilton, I'd be absolutely livid.
Well, I don't see anything in the body language that
No, I'm
indicates.
keen to see how they're going to get on with each other on the podium, but
There's Hamilton. He looks reasonably pleased.
Well, I think Hamilton's got enough confidence in his own ability that he knows that by the end of the season he'll probably be 20 or 30 points ahead.
But boy, he has lost some points. Losing the pole, there's 2. Losing fast lap 1, 2 points for second rather than first.
He's lost about 6 points this weekend. Just
unofficially, he is tied with Nelson Piquet Jr., who got a gift of his own there when Piquet threw it off the road in that battle with Ammermuller, allowing Piquet Jr. up into 4th. After that penalty and the drive-through. As Hamilton
First
says,
of all, he pours some champagne down, then he gives him a quick clip round the back of the head with the bottle.
there's more when that came from, sunshine.
good job, boys.
All right, an eventful race, as they always seem to be here on the GP2 trail. We'll take a break and return to Barcelona. This is the GP2 series presented by Meguiar's. Welcome back to Barcelona, where ART Grand Prix has once again dominated the day, taking a 1-2. Maybe not the one we expected, with some last lap dramatics. Here are the results. David, Steve?
Certainly was dramatic. Lewis Hamilton run into by his teammate, spun him around. He still managed to finish second to his teammate. Michael Ammermuller came up through the field, finishing third. Nelson Piquet led on the championship points going in, picked up a lot more points today. Tristan Gomedy had a good run for French. Fernando Monfordini, good run. Negrão, Visso, Giorgio Pantano, who started dead last, coming in 9th.
You saw earlier on there in P8, it's Ernesto Viso that took the 8th position. Well, actually in the race, it was Olivier Pla that finished 8th, but when the car was put into tech inspection and weighed, it was found to be underweight. There you see Olivier Pla's name down there in 26th position. They lost. Therefore, the car was underweight and excluded.
And they lost pole position for Sunday's sprint race. You saw Piquet in P5. There's Hamilton's P7 and Alex Premat P8 as they reverse the top 8 for the sprint event.
Viso started from the pole, got a great start. Look at that, the ground next door to him stalled at the start. There he is. That's a bad place to stall on the front row of any grid. Piquet jumped into second, and Premat goes up into third, while Hamilton whistles around the outside, getting 2 spots up into 5th.
And we see an onboard from Tristan Gomedy's car as he's going around Negrão and down inside in turn 1. Hamilton passes Gomedy for 4th on lap 1. And that puts him behind his teammate, Premat. Then Piccioni and Frank Pereira get together on lap 2, and that ended the day for both of them. 14 laps to go, and on board with Hiroki Yoshimoto, Spaniard Valles goes off into the gravel.
It was not to be a good day for Spanish teams. 1 lap later, Valles' teammate Felix Portero pulls off a very frustrated young driver. Once again, we're on board with Yoshimoto, the Japanese driver, with no luck at all on the weekend. Once again, he parks, and hey, driver's responsibility, put the steering wheel back on.
Then Pantano started dead last yesterday, running 6th, holding off 7th place. Fernando Monfordini goes wide, giving up that final point. Here you see it again, leaving the road at probably 130 miles an hour, rushing through the gravel, never lifting a leg with old Giorgio.
Up front, Viso, Piquet, Premat and Hamilton would run nose to tail. Less than 3 to 4 seconds between all of them, but the order does not change.
Viso goes flag to take the sprint race victory. But the comedy was not over. Notice Piquet Jr. looking up saying, hey, why's my flag down on the other end of the podium? Oh, well, the champagne tasted just as good as Viso picks up the sprint race victory. Here are the results.
Well, Ernesto Viso picks up the win from pole. Nelson Piquet coming in second. Alex Premat and Lewis Hamilton for the ART Grand Prix team. Gomendi having a pretty good day, all in all. 5th there. Fernando Monfordini doing well from the middle of the pack yesterday afternoon. And Pantano in 7th, coming from dead last, but of course no points today for 7th. Ammermuller off the pace today a little bit. Lucas Di Grassi there in the Durango.
Timo Glock in 10th position for BCN. And Zuber for Trident Racing finishing in 11th. Aaron Carroll there for Racing Engineering picks up the 12th spot.
And here's the Drivers' Championship after 8 of 21 races.
As you can see, very close to the top. Nelson Piquet hangs on to that lead by just 2 points from Lewis Hamilton and Andre Prima. There you see the rest of the points. Adam Carroll had a lousy day. He didn't do well at all, as opposed to a couple of weeks ago where he was on the podium, but just went backwards through every race today.
And the team points, well, there they are again in first spot, first position at ART Grand Prix. Way out in front now with 64 points. 48 points for Arden International. They remain in second position. PK Sports, 41. VCN competition there, down in 6th. At 14th, just 1 point ahead of Supernova International in 7th. And right down the bottom, Dave Price Racing in Durango in 12th and 13th, yet to put a single point on the board.
And that while ART Grand Prix basically disappears over the horizon. That'll do it for round 4 of the GP2 series from Barcelona. For those of you who wish to see today's Spanish Formula One Grand Prix, tune into your local CBS affiliate at 12 noon Eastern Time. However, our coverage here on Speed of the Spanish Grand Prix can be seen Saturday, May 20th at 8:30 p.m. For David Hobbs, Steve Matchett, and Peter Windsor, I'm Bob Varsha. Thanks for being with us. So long, everybody.